Tom O'Gorman, 39 years old, from Dublin. A gentle, bookish researcher who worked for the Iona Institute, known for his calm nature and big-hearted personality. Everyone who knew him said he couldn't hurt a fly. Then there's Saverio Bellante, around 36 at the time, from Palermo, Italy. He'd been living in Ireland for a while, quiet, polite, with a strong accent and an odd energy that you couldn't quite read. Tom didn't know it yet, but Saverio had a long history of mental illness, the kind that isn't just, "I'm having a bad day," but full-on delusions. They weren't random strangers. Tom was renting out a room in his home on Beach Park Avenue in Castleknock. Saverio moved in, rent paid, handshake deal. Friendly enough, or so it seemed. Alright, let's meet our two main players, and trust me, this matchup was doomed from the start. Tom O'Gorman, 39 years old, Dublin born and raised. A calm, kind, old-school Irish guy. Worked as a researcher for the Iona Institute Think Quiet office. Debates about ethics, nothing violent or wild. Friends said he was the least aggressive person you could meet. He loved books, history, and a good chat over tea. The type who'd lend you his last euro or let you crash on his couch without asking questions. Basically, a solid human being. Saverio Bellante, mid-30s, from Palermo, Italy. He'd moved to Ireland a few years earlier, looking for work and a fresh start. On the surface, polite, quiet, maybe a bit intense. But underneath, mental health struggles, real clinical stuff. He'd been diagnosed with schizophrenia years before. He was under psychiatric care and taking strong medication for it. Now here's where fate plays its sick little game. Tom had a spare room in his semi-detached house in Castleknock, a nice leafy suburb of Dublin. Saverio needed somewhere to live. Easy enough, they signed a simple rent deal. He moved in. For a while, everything seemed fine. They shared the same kitchen, same living room, even played chess together on evenings. You know, friendly landlord, quiet tenant. But something about Saverio didn't sit right. Neighbors said he rarely talked. Sometimes stared off into space, muttering under his breath. Still, in Dublin, everyone minds their own business. You don't pry unless there's smoke or screaming. Tom, being the trusting soul he was, didn't see danger. He saw a man trying to get by in a new country, and that kindness would turn out to be fatal. It's a freezing January night in 2014, Castleknock, quiet, middle-class Dublin suburb. Picture calm streets, parked cars, dogs barking in the distance. Inside one house on Beach Park Avenue, two men sit across a chessboard. Tom O'Gorman, the host, the calm one. Saverio Bellante, the larger, the unpredictable one. They've done this before. Little evening chess sessions, bit of chat, bit of competition. Normal roommate stuff. But tonight, something feels off. Saverio's been restless lately. The guy's been skipping his medication, big mistake. 2 days off, antipsychotics can turn your brain into a haunted house. According to the Irish Times, he was spiraling, seeing himself as some kind of chosen one, fighting dark forces. Yeah, not exactly the mindset you want during a casual chess game. So they're playing. Things are calm until they're not. A move happens. Tom calls it illegal. Saverio disagrees. Voices raise. The temperature in the room drops 10 degrees. Tom says something like, "That's not fair." Saverio snaps back, "You cheated." And just like that pop, the calm snaps. You'd think it's just another roommate spat. Maybe some shouting, maybe one storms out. But no. Saverio stands up, grabs something heavy, a dumbbell. In seconds, that tiny board game turns into a nightmare. He strikes Tom once, twice, until the board is on the floor, chess pieces flying like confetti at a funeral. Then he grabs a knife. Yeah, the argument's not about the move anymore. It's about delusions, rage, and something way darker. By the time the attack stops, the living room looks like a war zone, and the neighbor's quiet street. Still totally unaware that one of Dublin's most shocking crimes is unfolding right behind those curtains. So remember how we left it? Chess pieces flying, tempers exploding, the dumbbell already swinging. You'd think it would stop there, a fight, a bruise, an apology in the morning. But nope. This thing goes from bad to biblical. Saverio doesn't stop. He keeps going, wild, lost in delusion. The blows are brutal. Tom tries to fight back, maybe to talk him down, but it's too late. Saverio switches from blunt force to a knife. It's not a single stab either. It's multiple, one after another, like something snapped deep in his brain. According to the Irish Times and the Independent, the attack is so violent that when the guards later enter the house, even seasoned detectives can't believe what they're seeing. Tom's skull is fractured. His body shows dozens of wounds. It's like the madness took full control. And here's where it gets darker. After the stabbing, Saverio does something that makes this case infamous. He goes to the kitchen, picks up a plate, and removes part of Tom's chest. The forensic team would later confirm it wasn't what Saverio thought. He believed he had cut out Tom's heart, but in reality it was a piece of lung. That's right. The man was in full delusion mode, convinced he was fighting evil itself. Now imagine that silence after. The kind that hits when the rage burns out and reality creeps back in. The room is destroyed, the boards still on the floor, blood everywhere, and Saverio just stands there. He doesn't run, he doesn't hide, he doesn't even try to clean up. He waits. And somewhere outside, Dublin sleeps, completely unaware that one of the strangest, most disturbing crimes in Ireland's modern history has just taken place in an ordinary house on Beach Park Avenue. Morning comes, quiet Dublin suburb. Neighbors going about their lives, coffee brewing, kids off to school. Inside Tom's house, it's a scene from pure chaos. Saverio's still there, calm, covered in blood, but calm like his mind's wiped clean. And then around dawn, he does something no one sees coming. He calls for help himself. When the guards arrive, they're expecting maybe a domestic argument. Shouting, broken plates, someone storming off. Instead, they walk into one of the most disturbing crime scenes they've ever seen. Tom O'Gorman, gentle, kind Tom, is dead. He's been stabbed over and over, more than 10 times. His skull is caved in from blunt force trauma. His chest is cut open. And right there, on a white kitchen plate, the guards spot something that makes their stomachs drop, a piece of tissue still warm. Later confirmed by the Irish Times and the journal IE to be part of Tom's lung. Saverio believed it was Tom's heart. Let that sink in. When the guards ask what happened, Saverio doesn't deny a thing. He looks straight at them and says, "We had a fight. I stabbed him." That's it. No excuses, no hesitation, just plain and chilling honesty. He's arrested on the spot. Calm, compliant, no fight, no drama. It's almost like he believes what he did was right. And when they start piecing it together, the chess game, the argument, the sudden explosion of violence, one detail stands out. There's no history of conflict between them. None. No money issues, no grudges. So why? Why go from chess to carnage? The answer, it turns out, wasn't in Tom's house. It was inside Saverio's mind. So the guards have Saverio in custody now. They don't even need to play detective. He's basically giving them the story himself. Under caution, he repeats it. "I am guilty." No lawyer tricks, no confusion, just those 3 words, calm as you like. That alone freaks the investigators out. Most killers try to explain, deflect, cry, something. But Saverio, nothing. He's eerily at peace, like a man who just finished doing exactly what he thought needed to be done. When forensic experts go through the house, they notice that plate again. You remember the one with the heart? Yeah, that thing. Saverio genuinely believed he'd removed Tom's heart. But here's the twist. He was wrong. According to the Irish Examiner and the journal IE, the tissue wasn't the heart at all. It was a lung torn from Tom's chest during the attack. Saverio thought he was performing some kind of symbolic act, like purging evil. That's when it hits everyone. This wasn't about anger. It wasn't about rent, money, or even pride. Saverio was living in a full-blown delusion. He told investigators he believed Tom was possessed, that evil forces were inside him, and that God had sent him on a mission to destroy them. And that's when the case goes from horrific murder to something the Irish courts haven't dealt with in years, a crime born not from hate but from complete mental collapse. From that moment, it's not about proving who did it, everyone knows Saverio did. It's about figuring out why his mind turned him into something unrecognizable. So here's where things stop being just a murder case and start feeling like a psychology documentary gone wrong. Once Saverio is arrested, the guards get him evaluated. Two psychiatrists, hours of interviews, and a mountain of reports later, they all agree on one thing: this guy's mind wasn't just cracked, it was completely gone. Turns out Saverio had been diagnosed with schizophrenia years earlier. He'd been on strong antipsychotic meds, olanzapine prescribed to keep his delusions and hallucinations under control. According to Arte and the Irish Times, he was stable for a long time, holding jobs, keeping quiet, doing okay. Then, out of nowhere, 2 days before the killing, he stops taking his medication. Just 2 days. Doctors later said his psychosis came roaring back like a storm. He started believing he was literally God. Not in the poetic "I'm powerful" sense, in the "I'm on a divine mission to fight evil spirits" sense. And in his warped reality, Tom O'Gorman, the kind, soft-spoken guy who let him live in his home, became the devil. Now let that sink in. One day you're having tea and talking about books, the next day your roommate thinks you're Satan. By the time he sat down at that chessboard, Saverio was gone. The man playing wasn't Saverio the tenant, it was Saverio the delusional crusader, convinced he was carrying out divine justice. In court, the prosecution didn't even bother trying to argue he didn't do it. The evidence was overwhelming. The question was, did he even know what he was doing? Two forensic psychiatrists testified that at the moment of the killing, Saverio's grip on reality was completely absent. He couldn't tell right from wrong. He wasn't driven by anger or greed, he was driven by delusion. The judge listened. The jury listened. And Ireland collectively sat there thinking, how do you even process that? It wasn't about justice anymore, it was about insanity. After all the tests, reports, and courtroom back and forth, it finally comes down to one question. Was Saverio Bellante a murderer or a man completely lost to madness? The courtroom is silent. Everyone knows what he did. The photos, the evidence, his confession, it's all beyond debate. What nobody agrees on is what it means. The jury disappears for a while, comes back, and bam, delivers a special verdict. Not guilty by reason of insanity. Yeah, not guilty. That line alone splits public opinion right down the middle. Some people think justice failed. Others say the verdict was the only humane choice because Saverio wasn't in control of his mind when he killed Tom. Instead of prison, the judge orders him to be detained indefinitely at the Central Mental Hospital in Dundrum, Ireland's highest security psychiatric facility. According to Arte and the Irish Examiner, that's where he's still confined, monitored, medicated, and evaluated over the years by doctors and legal boards. Now, here's the part that hits differently. When most people imagine insanity defense, they picture someone gaming the system, faking symptoms to dodge jail. But psychiatrists were clear. Saverio's delusions were real. He wasn't acting. He wasn't scheming. He genuinely believed he was saving the world from evil. So yeah, no handcuffs, no life sentence. Just a locked ward, fluorescent lights, and the constant hum of medication doing its work. And while Saverio begins his endless loop of treatment and reviews, Tom's family is left sitting in a quiet Dublin church, wondering how kindness could have led to this. So time passes. Years go by. Saverio stays locked away in the Central Mental Hospital. Tom's friends try to move on, but the case keeps hanging around like a ghost that refuses to leave. Then in 22, almost 8 years after the killing, the story comes back. An inquest is opened to revisit the case, not to retry it, but to finally put the facts on record. And what comes out during that inquest? Honestly, it's chilling all over again. Doctors testify that in the 48 hours before the murder, Saverio's psychosis escalated at lightning speed. He'd stopped taking his medication olanzapine, the one thing keeping his mind grounded. Within 2 days, the delusions kicked in full force. He thought the world was split into good and evil, that he was some divine soldier, and that Tom O'Gorman was possessed by darkness. Think about that for a second. 2 missed doses. That's all it took for his brain to turn on him. The coroner's court hears the details again. The argument over chess, the stabbing, the bizarre belief that he was cleansing evil. Everything points to the same conclusion: this wasn't a crime of rage, it was a psychotic break. But that explanation doesn't give comfort to Tom's family. How could it? They lose a son, a brother, a gentleman whose only mistake was opening his home to someone who needed help. And here's where it twists again. At one point, Saverio actually tried to sue Ireland's health service executive, claiming his treatment was mishandled and that stopping his medication was their fault. The court dismissed it fast. The system, though, didn't come out looking spotless either. People started asking if doctors knew he was vulnerable. Why wasn't there stronger monitoring? Why was a man with active schizophrenia living unsupervised, unassessed, and unmedicated in a suburban home? It's one of those cases that makes everyone uneasy because there's no clear villain, just tragedy stacked on bad timing and broken mental health systems. And at the center of it all is Tom, a man who just wanted to help. So after all the trials, the reports, the expert testimonies, and the endless questions, were left with a single brutal truth. One chess move, one skipped dose, one human life gone forever. Tom O'Gorman, a man described by everyone as gentle, bright, spiritual, ends up the victim of something no one could have predicted. Not a robbery, not revenge, not even hatred, just madness, pure, untreated madness. Saverio Bellante didn't run from what he did. He didn't try to cover it up. He admitted everything. But here's the twisted part: he didn't understand that it was wrong. In his mind, he was saving humanity from evil. He thought he was doing something good. And that's what makes this story so disturbing, not just the violence, but the logic behind it. Because to Saverio, it wasn't murder, it was victory. Meanwhile, Tom's family still lives with the hole he left behind, the house empty, the laughter gone, and a city still haunted by the question, could this have been stopped? Doctors call it a tragic outcome of untreated psychosis. Lawyers call it insanity. But if you ask anyone who knew Tom, they just call it unfair. And here's the irony that hits like a punchline from hell. It all started with a chessboard, a game about patience, logic, and control. And it ended with one man losing all three. So next time you set up a chess game, take a second before you move that pawn. Because as Dublin learned that winter night, even the smallest move can change the entire board forever. And that's the story of the chess move that killed a man. A Dublin tragedy that proves sometimes it's not the monsters under the bed you should fear, it's the ones your mind creates. Honestly, this one sticks with you. Because there's no villain you can fully hate, no ending that feels clean. Just a man who needed help, another who offered it, and a system that dropped the ball in between. What do you think? Should insanity mean no prison time? Or should the crime itself still count, no matter what's going on in someone's head? Tell me in the comments, I want to know where you stand on that. And hey, if you made it this far, you're officially part of the people who can't sleep after hearing Irish True Crime Club. Welcome. Hit the like button if you want more wild stories like this, real cases told straight, no fluff. Subscribe if you haven't, because next week's one, yeah, it's darker, way darker. Until then, keep your mind sharp, your heart soft, and maybe pick another board game.